New from Revell, it's the Light and Sound Tornado. Featuring all new light and sound action at the press of a button. Watch as it displays realistic sounds as your aircraft comes into the landing. Wow, these effects are so real, you can really feel the heat. And don't worry, little guy, you'll get to take your pictures too. And then you can go straight for takeoff. New from Revell. Subject to availability, time travel may be required. We're not responsible for loss of memory and traveling time. Model kit may not be worth it as it's outdated 2000 technology. Current RRP is 6969. This disclaimer and advert are made up.
Remember when model kits used to be more than just a model kit? When they used to have, I don't know, unique quirks or unique selling points to try and draw you into more than just the model itself. And I mean, there's other examples of this, whether it's glow in the dark or, you know, the Magic Flight series, which I do have a Fokker triplane to do in the Magic Flight series at some point. But there's also ones like this, which are a full-on diorama, but this one's a bit different because it's not just diorama, it's obviously light and sound. Now, we're looking at a specific one today, the Tornado, and there's a reason for that. Firstly, Tornado is a beautiful aircraft. No longer in RAF service, of course, and still in service with the Germans, so with the Luftwaffe, with the Royal Saudi Air Force, and I think still just about in service with the Italian Air Force. But it's something that I grew up seeing and I absolutely adore. The iconic pan-European swing-wing aircraft, and I think swing-wing aircraft are something that a lot of people really adore, whether it's the F-14 Tomcat, the F-111 Aardvark, or the Panavia Tornado. So today we're going to have a look at this unique boxing of the Tornado. We'll have a look at what's inside the box, a little bit of a history of the kit, and discuss why we're building this today, before we go into the construction of the kit. Once we've done that, we'll have a look at it popping off. Now, what you'll probably see from this kit is it hasn't aged the best. And I don't necessarily mean the Tornado tooling, because that may still be coming out. I also mean that the sort of base and the diorama itself, and we'll look at that in much more detail. It's definitely a product of its time, but if you've been watching my videos, you've already seen this in at least one video. That was in my Hawk video, and it was one of the final pictures where I showed sort of a photographer taking a picture of the Hawk. So I think this is a really cool product. Definitely an issue with it that we'll talk about later. And the sound on it is, you can tell it's from the 2000s with its speaker, I will say. So if you want to stay up to date with my channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel to be kept up to date with the latest and greatest videos. And if you want to fund unusual purchases like this, because these things can be weirdly expensive, then please feel free to become a channel member. You can join in the link down below, or the box down below, should I say. You can also join the Ms. Modeler community in the Discord, where you can chat to fellow model makers in a forum like, well, style. So you can share your latest builds or your current projects. Well, anyway, I guess we should go and have a little talk about the history of this kit. So this kit is the Revell Tornado IDS kit. There are a couple of variants of the Tornado that we will talk about a little bit later, but this one was initially released in 1998 before a Spirit of Black Bulk, not sure how to say it, was released the following year. An iconic Tiger Skiing was also released at the turn of the millennium in the year 2000. A kit that was then re-released quite a few times after, as you'll see in this timeline. At the same time, a Tornado GR1 variant was also released. Gonna be honest, I sometimes struggle with all the variants of the Tornado, but I believe they're fairly equivalent, hence why they're using the same set. Because again, there are a million sets of the Tornado. A black Tornado set was released in 2002, alongside the set we're looking at today, which is the Light and Sound set. In 2009 and 11, we saw re-releases of the Tornado. New decals arrived in 2013 alongside the RAF, Black Panther and ECR variants of the aircraft being re-released. It would be another 6 years before the Tornado would get another release, again, just to reiterate on this tooling, with the Aster 3.1 variant. This was an electronics upgrade of the Tornado, at least from the brief bit of digging I did looking at what this actually was, and it was specific for the German Tornadoes. And the one they've used is a demonstrator. Saw a few comments saying that it was an odd choice, but like, not sure how else you would really know that it was that variant from what I understand, because again, same tooling. But I think it's a cool scheme anyway. 2024 saw the 50th anniversary of the Tornado, as you will see in my Re-Ep 2024 videos, and they chose to release a duo of a Luftwaffe and RAF kit. Now I will say, really love the box art for this. It was actually my wallpaper on my PC for quite some time. Slightly disappointed though that they didn't go for the really beautiful Italian and German schemes to celebrate the 50th anniversary, especially seeing as they've released that in 148. I'm begging you, Revell, please release this in 172nd because it's one of the best schemes for any aircraft ever made. But I guess at least we're still getting Tornadoes. There are a lot of alternatives to the, well, Revell IDS Tornado set, including sets from Airfix, Hasegawa, Italeri/Eschi, and also I think Revell/Eschi, among a myriad of other releases. Now, there's lots of different variants within that, of course, because there was also the fighter variant, at least in the British service, we called it the Tornado F1, F3, and then we had the GR, which was the bomber version, so the GR1, GR4. But, you know, all these manufacturers will have slightly different variations, and there seemed to be quite a lot of tooling to this. Again, huge aircraft for its time. And there's also an export version, which was sold to Saudi Arabia. Only seems to be like a very small selection of box arts that feature the Saudi one, which I think is quite interesting because you would have thought they'd done more for like outside the European market, but apparently not. That's pretty much it for the history of the Tornado IDS tooling from Revell. But we will talk about, instead of the history of the Tornado itself, because there's definitely going to be other videos where I discuss the full history of the Tornado. This one's a bit different because we're looking at that set. So I just wanted to talk about the sets themselves because there were a couple of variants of this, and obviously I've chosen this one for a specific reason. Also because I really like planes. So along with there being the Tornado, there was an F1 set of this. I actually really nearly bought this, especially because I've got those hella F1 sets to do at some point. But I knew I probably wouldn't use it that much, so I decided not to. This set you can see an example of from the scale model shed. It looks very similar. They all use the same base, but they just have different stickers or decals, I guess, popped over the top of them, a different backdrop, and the F1 one has the lights right at the top. Erkan Bora has also showed us the DAF XF95, which is a truck. And this was also a really cool set, and seems to be one of the harder ones to get hold of. I personally think this is the worst of the sets, mostly because the truck looks so big on the base, whereas the Tornado really fits and has the full wraparound effect, and even the F1 does kind of have that, whereas the truck just feels way too big for the set, at least in my opinion. So yeah, they did multiples of these and attracted different people, I guess, because, you know, some people like trucks, some people like racing cars, some people like planes. The only one missing seems to be a ship. Kind of get why they probably didn't do that one, to be honest, but hey, that would be cool to see, I guess. Obviously, I chose the Tornado one, and I'll be honest, part of it was because it looks better, at least in my opinion, and part of it was my love of planes, and part of it was also that this one was an absolute bargain. I think I paid £40 for it. Looking on eBay as of recording, I can see them anywhere from £65 to £100. So they seem to have gone up a lot recently. I will hold my reservations about whether or not I would recommend you pay that much for this. Probably don't, but we'll talk about that a bit more later. For now, we need to go and have a look what's inside the box. The Light and Sound Tornado IDS diorama set. Now, the kit obviously comes with this as the bulk of the box, and it is a really big box, I must stress this. You kind of assemble the backdrop just by slitting it into these sort of rods, but mine's quite deformed, as you can tell, so I ended up using some tape to hold it together. The majority of the sprues from this set are just on a couple of frames, and it looks kind of nice. The details are fine. I think 90s is really the turning point for modelling into consistent recessed or primarily recessed panel lining and a higher level of accuracy and detail. That's not to say that this is going to be the most accurate tornado set out there, and I'm not expert enough to know whether that's the case, but overall I do think it looks like a nice set. It feels like a nice sort of plastic. It's not too hard, semi-malleable, if you use the right tools on it, but at the same time, it's not gonna, just deform if you push it a little bit like some of the cheaper model kits out there, so it's perfectly acceptable. The details in the cockpit also seem relatively nice, even on the sprue, and it does look like that there's not an excessive part count for this kit. Quite often with modern fighter jets, it can feel like you're putting parts in for parts' sake, and I definitely did not feel that was the case here. The fuselage assembly is the main body, the wings with its mechanism that you can see is sort of a cog mechanism, and then sort of the tail section, and the cockpit is an entirely separate section with a nose cone that you can fill with weights. The landing gear is also built of several different components. The canopy and glazing is fine. I did find once I finished this that it's perhaps not the clearest, and there were a couple of marks on it, but that could just be due to age. The decals here are absolutely fantastic, and we'll get into that in a moment, but we may not see these on the finished model. Unfortunately, that does mean I cannot attest to their quality. You can see some colour sort of change in the middle and on the sides, and that does appear to be due to aging. The instructions are fairly standard Revell, to be honest, but I will say that they are clear enough to understand what I'm doing. I didn't find any particular difficulty when assembling the kit, and, well, I think there was one error, but that was mostly my fault rather than the kit's. Overall, I would say this is a perfectly acceptable kit, though it's not up to the modern standards, of course, but it is, at this point, over 20 years old, so I guess I give it a break. The colour schemes are, again, fine to understand, but I always find black and white quite hard to transpond to colour in my head. But overall, quite a nice kit, at least from the box. So for full transparency, I lost the decals for this set. I think I know why, but it's not related. I sold decals from an Esky set instead. One that I bought for like £5, I think at Halifax Modelers World. I bought like 4 different Esky sets for quite cheap. So, well, why am I mentioning this? Well, it meant that I did an Italian variant instead of the one that came on the box. And the Italian one's really cool. In fact, thanks to Tornado Sig, you can really clearly see that it has aluminium on the bottom and camera on the top. And even when it was the Gulf War, they just painted it sort of the sand colour and kept the aluminium on the bottom. A really unique scheme for the Tornado operators. And so I decided to do that. Is mine going to be 100% accurate? No, it turns out. I thought I was doing relatively well, but I don't think I got the scheme fully right. But anyway, the reason I'm explaining before you see me build it is so that you know in advance that it's not going to be the box art one, but I think you'll still be surprised by what I ended up making. Also, I did make mine unarmed, partly because I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, and thought I can always do that in the future, and if I want to practice magnetizing in the future, I can do so. So for now, it's unarmed. Anyway, let's go and have a look at me building, painting, and decaling this lovely little kit. The construction of this kit started with the cockpit, and you can see it's a tub that I'm putting in things like the control column and also sort of the seats that I'll have to assemble. Unfortunately, some of these bits were not on camera, including the full assembly of the seats. As usual, I did manage to sort of just move my hands off just as I was doing the critical points. Once that was done, I gave the whole thing a quick blast of primer. Tamiya primer to be precise, because I just couldn't be bothered to airbrush it. I then covered it with a grey paint, and I decided to give it a little wash as well. The wash is just a really thinned down black paint. I'm using life colour here, but to be perfectly honest, you could just use any old black paint, or even an oil paint if you put a little varnish onto the paint to protect it first. I decided to do this after looking at reference photos online, but this is before I decided to change to an Italian one, so the colours may not be entirely accurate to my end result. Overall though, I think I ended up with a nice looking cockpit. It's a really simple to put together cockpit, but with the size of the Tornado, I think you can just about see it, particularly because on modern fighters compared to World War II aircraft, it's obvious what's in the cockpit compared to the really small glass sections you get in older aircraft. I decided to paint the buttons on this too, partly just to practice my skills at finer painting, and I just kind of put in random dots of colour. Again, this will not be 100% accurate because that's just not for me. I don't have the patience, I guess, to go and look at what colours should be where, so I just did it off vibes and looking at pictures of cockpits online, and I think I got a relatively okay result. Again, this isn't designed to be the height of accuracy, it's just designed so that it'll look good once it's actually in the model, because that's all I care about. I put on the transfers as well, the decals, and I probably should have done it before I popped the control panel sections and the seats all into place, but we managed to get it on in the end. The front side of the canopy I did just give a wash and a paint similar to what I did on the cockpit tub, and then I glued it all together. Again, unfortunately, I took that off camera, but you saw me at least put the glue in place, and it's literally just a case of popping the two sides together. I actually really love this assembly, and I wish more modern fighter jets did this, because it means you have a clear step that you've done. Once that's done, you can put the rest of it away if you wanted to and finish it later. So I wish you'd got things like Eurofighters, F-16s, F-18s, and things like that were all in this layout. So far, I'm only aware of, I think, maybe an F-111 and a Tornado that do this. I did give a black paint all around the edge of this. This was not the final black that I ended up using because I went for a darker black in the end. If you want to learn about the different shades of black, please go and watch my F-117 Stealth Fighter video, because I learned that blacks come in different shades and how to use them. This is not the right way to fill a nose with weight, but it's the way that I ended up doing. I had put some heavier weights in the bottom, which was some fishing weights, and then decided to add in some liquid gravity. I should have added the liquid gravity before putting the glue in. As you can see, it ended up leaking because I have no patience whatsoever. The sponsons to put on the weapons can turn so that when you move the wings and sweep them back or forward, you can move the weapons and rotate them too. Now, there is a little issue with this kit, and a lot of people said this whilst I was building this initially on stream, that it was going to break and I should just decide what to put the wings in as. And as it happened, I ended up putting in a part wrong on the tail section, which meant that the wings were kind of just going to consistently break for me, and I made the decision to stick mine in position. I ended up going for the open wing, sort of the fully swept forward, and that's partly because of the set that this is going with, because ultimately I'm building this for the Revell set. So in the end, I ended up with the open configuration. But if you build this properly, not like the way I did it, you can have a kit that's going to open and close. Be warned, the plastic will degrade over time, and if you're really keen about making sure that you have this properly, I'd recommend one of two things. One, motorize this. You could probably just about motorize this. I have no idea how. I don't know how these things work. I assume it's magic, but considering I've seen smaller kits have motorized engines, I assume it's probably a possibility. 2. Replace some of the plastic parts with metal. This seems like a relatively simple option, using metal pins and potentially a metal bar. I think this is probably quite doable, and even within my skill set, I just don't really have the patience for it, and it might be something I explore in a future kit. But for now, well, we've gone for the glue it in place because I screwed it up option. You are going to at least get to see an opportunity of how this roughly works, as I did sort of dry fit it. It is genuinely lovely, and I remember having these on as a kid, and I had like a Revell one, and I think it was potentially in a special scheme, but there was tar that leaked through a roof when my parents were getting a house repaired, and it ruined it. But I still remember just being able to flick the wings back and forward, at least for a time. So yeah, it's something that is really cool about the kit, and it's probably why the aircraft is so well loved anyway. This is something you don't need to do, and it's because I am using the wrong part. Please ignore that I am doing this, but I left it in to show that I make mistakes. Any content creator you watch makes mistakes, even if they hide them sometimes. I definitely made a mistake here, and whilst it did work initially, it's not going to work in the end. After we've made the unfortunate decision to glue everything in place, it's time to glue on the front section we did earlier. So that is the cockpit section and the nose that we've glued on. This is going to mean the aircraft suddenly takes shape, and it looks amazing. It'll look a bit weird because we haven't got the air intakes on the sides. Those come a little bit later, but it does mean that the aircraft is suddenly much longer and it just starts to have that piercing look of a tornado. I'm putting in the tail as well. This could also have moved, but again, because I screwed it all up, I decided, I'm just going to go with gluing it in place. And so we decided on a position and just went with it. Probably not the position it should have been, but it is what it is at the end of the day. You can see that I'm just snipping some bits off, and again, that's just because I made the mistake. And I'm really stressing this because I want you to know that it is an error. It should have had much more movement in this overall sort of kit, but you can still get something nice at the end. Putting the aforementioned air intakes together, just 2 or might have been 3 parts that you pop together and then stick onto the sides. Again, I managed to do that off camera, but you saw me initially put together and it was literally glue it in the gaps that were there. I put the air brakes on and I decided to put these in open. No real reason other than I just thought it was a bit more interesting than having them shut. Realism be damned, I suppose. The undercarriage is not the trickiest. However, I broke mine multiple times. Just be warned that if you drop this, they snap quite easily. They're not the strongest. That's kind of the case for most model kits, but I found these particularly tricky. Once the model was all put together, I did prime it all. I used Life Colour's Panzer Grey primer, and I actually used Life Colour for the entirety of the painting on this set. What's going on now looks brown. I promise you, it is an olive green, but it just looks kind of brown because of the lighting and also how dark that primer is belowhand. It's going to be a combination of olive green and Italian dark sea grey that I used for the painting of this kit. The colours were the closest matches I could find on ScaleMates. I actually use that as quite a heavy resource for matching colours, quite often just getting a big swatch and trying to match it to another swatch of another paint brand that's already recommended. Now the technique I'm using here, initially I'm just freehanding it for the green, right? I'm not using anything in particular, but I am following reference material. But I will go on to use a technique that I read in an old Airfix book. They used to release these red sort of volumes about techniques for modelling, and I bought one at Leeds Model Show this year. It was only a £5 or so. And one day I decided to have it a read whilst I was relaxing, and came across this technique of just using kitchen roll and ripping it to get a really feathered edge, but then using it across a model. Now the rip on the toilet roll or kitchen roll is, although it looks quite, I don't know, torn and frayed, it doesn't come across as that when you're spraying. And you'll see this technique in a moment once I finish off the green. Okay, so the green's all finished and we're going to go in for that grey. So we're using the rip of the kitchen roll to just do the edges against the green. We've ripped it and we're just getting rough shapes, then we're spraying on, and it does get this really lovely kind of soft but also like realistic effect. You need to make sure obviously you're not overspraying too much because that will ruin it, but I ended up getting really nice effects on this. There were some areas I did have to touch up and some areas where there were probably some lines, but overall I would definitely use this technique again. I found it worked really surprisingly well. And honestly, don't you think that looks pretty good? But there is one issue with this set, and that's what we need to do the bottom. Now, I potentially could have freehanded this, but again, I use the resources on the Tornado 6 website. I would thoroughly recommend you check it out if you are a fan of the Tornado, because I found it really useful to try and have a look at where I need to paint. Now, I did a really stupid thing. If I looked at it and then just went and did it, I should have kept the page open and kept referring to it, but instead I looked at it, went, oh, okay, and did it from memory, so my bit might not be entirely accurate. Basically, the sides are kept the colour to match sort of the camo-y and the grey, and then the very bottom surfaces, so the bottom of the fuselage, the bottom of the sort of wings and tail, they're all in aluminium. It is a really cool scheme, and part of the reason I wanted to do Italian in the first place, because even in the Gulf War, they still had that style. It was like they painted the top desert and then just left it with aluminium on the bottom. It's such an unusual scheme. It's very different, I think, to the RAF and Luftwaffe. So we need to tape up to make sure that we don't get oversprayed, to make sure that we don't ruin anything. And it's the first time I really tried hard at taping. So I'm going to leave just this in so you can see what I tried to do. It's not all of it, but it's just so you get an idea. And then it's on to spraying. And this is Life Colors Aluminium. It's a divine colour. It sprays so nicely. This is actually one of the last models I did before I got sort of Galleries paint range. So at some point I'll do a comparison of what I think looks better. But I would thoroughly recommend going out and checking my Saab Draken video, because that was in an all metal finish and really showed how nice this can look, because that was the first time I'd ever done pre-shading or anything like that too. And it was a collaboration with my fellow content creator Fenris. And I absolutely loved it. So go and check that video out. It was really cool. But yeah, just giving it a couple of coats of aluminium and you get this lovely finish. You can see I put a lot of tape on though to try and prevent overspraying, and I'm just making sure I do a top-down angle, not side angles, again to prevent that happening. And once that was done, it was time to paint the landing gear. I'm pretty sure I did do some metallics on the landing gear with Galleries acrylic pen markers, because I think I had them at this point. it's been so commonly used by me that I just assume that that's what I did because I didn't record all of it. But of course I did paint the undercarriage tyres with light colours blacks, and it ended up looking okay, despite the fact I ended up breaking it a few times. Well, once that was all the decals. Now the decals I'm using, as I think I've mentioned in this video, are from Esky. So they are not the original box decals, which, I mean, shouldn't be a surprise at this point, seeing as we're doing an Italian one. I made a mistake here though, but I'm not going to say anything straight away. I'm just going to let you see me put the roundels on. And then of course I started doing the nose, and I thought, wow, this is really coming together nicely. Yeah, and I even started doing the tail. Honestly, this kit started coming together so quickly. The decals did break. I'm not going to worry about it though. They are quite old decals, so they are bound to have some issues, and I was probably a little bit rough with them. You can give them a clear coat of thinned varnish. That's quite often what some people do. I prefer not to. I prefer to just work with them, because most of the time with a little bit of love they do go on, and they did go on in the end quite nicely. But wait, what's that error I was still on about? Well, keep watching. What's this? Removing decals? Yeah, so there are decals that need to go under the roundels. These long strips. And this was part of, again, the appeal of this scheme, and I just completely forgot to do it. But you have to put these long strips on, and they go all around the model, like all over the top of the fuselage, all over the wings, all over where the air brakes are. It ended up becoming a nightmare. But I think it looks really good in the end, so I'm just going to let you watch as I put all the decals on, because, I mean, there's not a lot to say, it's just decals. Yeah, I'll probably leave it here for the decals, and there is a bit missing from this, of course, which is the canopy. I painted the canopy with the same green that I used for the fuselage itself, so it's just the same green. I've just edged it, and then I've stuck it on with some gluing glaze, which is what I use for everything, so just be aware that I do that as well. You can see though that some of these are really, really fiddly, especially these ones which are odd shapes, and I was using reference material the whole time, but every time I moved them they broke. But I guess you'll just have to see in a second if I made it work, won't you? Okay, so I think it went well. Hopefully. The only bit that's missing is me putting the canopy on, so just before we go and have a look at it in its full completed state, so you know, I basically just used glue and glaze to glue it in place. That was it, and it went on easily. I'd been dry fitting it the whole time, so there was no concern there. I guess the only way to really know if the kit ended up looking really nice is to go and have a look at it. Now, this is one of the last kits I did with light colour paints for quite some times. I actually did this kit a long time ago on stream, as some of you might know. The streams have kind of gone on and off a little bit, but hopefully they'll be back soon. But yeah, let's go and have a look at the tornado. Popping off. Well, I think the kit looks okay. Is it my best? Absolutely not. But I did okay. I also really liked using the different technique for doing the camo of just ripping a bit of paper that I saw in one of Airfix's old modelling books. It was actually a really good technique and it worked surprisingly well, and it's definitely one that I would recommend using in the future. I did try and follow some online examples of what the Italian tornado would look like, and I think it came out okay. The decals did rip. It's not the end of the world. I think I managed to pull it off, and I wasn't entirely sure where they should all go. I was trying to use a combination of online references and the ASCII instructions, and I got a bit confused. So is mine 100% accurate? Absolutely not, but also if you're watching this video, not watching it because you think it'll be accurate, you're watching it because you're here for the ride. So yeah. Overall, I think the kit was nice. It's a shame that the plastic parts broke so easily in the construction because it's the same as Concord, isn't it? The mechanism's really nice, but they're never strong enough. And even when I was doing the live stream, people were like, it's gonna break, just glue it in place, and lo and behold, it did. So yeah, I think this is a really nice kit. I love the Tornado kit. I think it's a really nice, easy kit to put together. It comes together just beautifully, and you can paint some really lovely and creative schemes with it. But would I recommend this kit? Absolutely not. Quite honestly, it's kind of a waste of money. The speaker in it sounds like trash because it's just really old, and the quality of it, it's not bad, it's quite robust, but like the backdrop on it, I think you could probably buy much better backdrops at this point and use something yourself, and I think you could probably build something like this for not very much. It's basically just a round board with a printed sheet on it and a printed backdrop, and I know you can buy stuff like that for not too much. So not sure I would recommend you buying this, especially as I say, cost today look like £70+, maybe 65 I think was the cheapest I saw really recently. Mine was really beat up in the box, and I think that's why mine was so cheap. So yeah, I would not recommend this. I would recommend the Tornado IDS set, obviously. Revell's kit is really lovely. It's just this particular boxing I wouldn't recommend. Can't comment on the decals too much because obviously I lost mine, but we'll assume they're probably okay. As for how mine went together, again, I think the painting went okay. The aluminium looks really nice. It's a really nice contrast against the camo, one that you don't see too often, particularly in post-World War II sort of finishes. And well, it's just something a bit different. You don't really see the Tornado in Italian camo that often, so it's kind of why I did it. I was really torn between sort of Italian and Saudi schemes anyway. I just don't think the Saudi one would have worked in this instance. So yeah, I guess that's my thoughts on this kit. Let me know in the comments down below whether or not you think I did okay on this for an Italian looking aircraft, and also make sure to give the video a thumbs up to us
and members. But a special shout out goes to my advanced kit lover members, which includes Bobby G, Bob and Genevieve Albridge, Dafty Duck, David Barber, Jeff's Dioramas, and my two longest subscribers at this level, Explosive Water and Crazy Locha. Thank you so much all for your support. And if you like what you've seen here today, make sure to subscribe to the channel to be kept up to date with my latest and greatest videos. And there's a recommended video here just for you. Have a good day. Love you. Bye.